There was nothing else at all in the whole world but football.
Hey guys, and welcome to the Triple F. Unless you've been living under a rock, I know all of you are more than aware of who was crowned Euro 2020 champions on Sunday. However, we hope you enjoyed the prediction chat both Simons had on Saturday prior to the final. Thanks again for listening, guys, and this is the Triple F Euro 2020 final prediction. Unfortunately, we haven't got Oliver and Matt, who were supposed to join us. That was supposed to be the intention. But it just turns out it's just you and I, Si. It's just the Arsenal fans. Clearly, we're the best fans in England. We're the ones that, do the business. And we're going to be talking all about England. Potentially going to be bringing it home. Football is coming home. And it's a question I have to ask you. What the fuck do we sing if we actually win it? Because It's Come Home or It's Home just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
Well, if Atomic Kitten had a song out, which I love that song, Kitten had a song out, I guarantee that Oasis or someone has got something ready to go. By next Saturday, there'll be something. But you know what? I was explaining to my family, and my wife actually gets it now, that she thinks that England do this all the time. She thinks that we get to semis because 2018 and now this. And I think she now understands the history. But I've been listening to that It's Coming Home song since '96, and there was one in '98, and then I guess they've released. But that, to me, that has such a I have such a visceral response to that song because I was young and I was so enthralled in that Euro '96 tournament. I went to a couple of games, and just the pain and the horror. And I think that song has kept me going. And I don't think it's ever going to go away, but I can't believe we're actually on the cusp of something. I mean, let's be fair, we've already achieved something pretty big. And I think we have to, as England fans, we have to recognize what we've achieved. Mm-hmm. And some would say, well, it's weak to say, we're in a final, we're okay with that. I am. I don't want it to all come. I'm trying to prepare myself for it not perhaps going the way we want. But obviously, I will sob openly. I will cry if we win. I really will, because I was driving back home just now, and I was singing. My little girl was in the back singing "It's Coming Home," and I'm like, this is going to get me. This has been all those defeats, all those games. But it's been hard.
Biggest disappointment for you as an England fan?
I think probably 1998, Argentina, the game with Michael Owen. That goal, right? Picks the ball up inside his own center circle.
Perhaps the greatest England goal ever. That and Gaz's in '96.
Yeah, and another penalty shootout. I think the 2006 against Portugal, that quarterfinal, that another shootout. The whole game with Ronaldo giving the wink to the camera. I think that inevitability that we're going to screw it up. So I don't know. I think they all sort of go into each other. The Iceland one 4 years ago, last tournament, that was just a bit like, well, we're not very good.
For me, it has to be perhaps Euro '96 with Southgate, but now it's kind of been vindicated. Now the fact that we've reached the final, the fact that we've beat the Germans, the fact that, even 2 years ago in the last World Cup, we actually won a penalty shootout. Those are the reasons why I think Euro '96 for me has been buried. The shame and the guilt from that has been firmly buried for me. And I'm so glad Southgate is the man at the helm, the man that suffered that penalty miss from all of it. So that's, for me, the biggest one. But I think the hardest one to take was perhaps when Steve McLaren was the manager and we failed to qualify for I think it was the World Cup. At the time with the Wally and the Brolly.
Was that the rainy night against Croatia at Wembley?
Was that the pass back from Gary Neville to Paul Robinson? I think maybe that was the home leg or something.
But you know what? You know what's funny though is that we think about this, and there's been a few moments where we have dipped and we haven't qualified for tournaments. You think back to like '94. You think back to that one Euros we do. That was Euro 2008. We've only qualified. We had that horrible period of the 70s when we didn't qualify for anything, which is amazing. Look at the squad that we had. Malcolm McDonald and those guys. That was a great squad. Ever since 1980, when I really kind of came online as an England fan, we've had disappointments, but when we haven't actually. We've always struggled to get out. We've always struggled on the whole group process. We've always won one, drawn one, lost one. We have that inevitable thing where we will draw the first one, we'll lose the second, and we have to win. But we've always made it. So we've always got to the knockout stages, and there was quite a period in there where we were a World Cup, Euros quarterfinal team. And we're always really down on ourselves for that. Look at teams like Italy, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, France. There have been tournaments more regularly than us where they just haven't qualified. So I think we get a little bit. We're obviously a very proud nation in terms of our football legacy, but actually, the problem for me is just the talent that we've had and not being able to get over that hurdle. We've actually, if you look at the Germans last World Cup, embarrassing. Didn't get out of the group. We have that. And if you take all the Icelands in the world and all the silly penalty shootouts, and the games against Argentina, Germany, etc., we always lose. But we've always been in the mix. And I think the cultural piece with the mighty waistcoat to get us over the line is huge. And so, frankly, even if we don't get what we want tomorrow, if there's a cultural change, and we have these foreign managers in the Premier League, as we just said, like a Pep, etc., and a Bielsa, and they're going to groom our players, that's going to be a huge help to getting us to that level where we expect more. And we are now, let's say, we're going to be a quarterfinal and semi-final team with the occasional final. If we are learning and building, I'm going to be less upset about tomorrow if we don't win. If come the World Cup in Qatar, we're back in the quarterfinals and we're competitive. Well, I guess I'm trying to justify this and rationalize this in case we get something tomorrow. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's a good point that you bring up, and I kind of share the same sentiment when it comes to perhaps preparing ourselves for tomorrow. But I think you kind of mentioned it before, where even if we do lose to Italy tomorrow, I'm not going to be ashamed. Yes, I'll be disappointed. Yes, I'll be gutted. But my God, we've got to a final of a European Championship. That's huge, a major tournament. We've got to a final of it. It hasn't happened in my lifetime. It hasn't happened in your lifetime, I imagine, either. So it's incredible. And it was kind of the sort of bitter sort of disappointment I had in the last World Cup, where I thought, if only we got to that bloody final, if only we had beaten Croatia. Because I was even thinking, like, Croatia France doesn't have the same sort of ring to it as England France. That would have been the better final, in my opinion. And it was just one of those sort of things that gave me sleepless nights, thinking, if only we could have got to that final. And people might say that European Championships are sort of less of a tournament in comparison to the World Cup, but in my opinion they're the same, if not tougher in a sense. So to get to this European Championship final is huge, and like I said, I'll be gutted, but I think no real England fan, unless you're some sort of internet troll, is really going to be angry at what Gareth Southgate and the boys have done. I think they can all hold their heads high, and I think they will definitely get a standing ovation no matter the outcome tomorrow. What Gareth Southgate has done, and I'm hoping this now gives us a bit of a chance to talk about the mighty waistcoat, as you've dubbed him. The guy, what he's achieved is absolutely incredible. It's just so hard to fathom what he's done. And, I'll hold my hands up. After that Scottish draw, I had my doubts about him, and I'm sure I wasn't the only person. But I've had my doubts about him many times during his tenure. But the guy knows how to manage international football. He knows how to navigate those waters. Perhaps he wouldn't be a great manager for sort of Premier League or domestic football. The jury's out on that, because we've only seen him manage with Middlesbrough, and that went horribly wrong. But for me, he just seems to know international football so well. He seems to be so detailed in his education, so hard at sort of putting himself to learning every tiny crucial detail, almost Bielsa-like in a sense, just leaving absolutely no stone unturned. The biggest sort of impressive thing that he's done with England is really mend that relationship between the media and the England football team. How he's done that and done it so well. I mean, for my whole lifetime, I'm pretty sure for yours, that relationship was always scarred. That was always a turbulent relationship, and it was almost impossible. I think now the next manager following Gareth Southgate will have a much easier job than his predecessors, because Southgate has now mended those relationships and has now made it a much smoother proposition for people. The guy deserves a freaking statue, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think, well, he deserves an Atomic Kitten song, which he's got. So. But no, I think now you make some great points, man. I think I suppose I was excited by it, but when England went down that foreign manager route with Sven and with Capello, who frankly didn't give a damn. I mean, I think Sven-Goran Eriksson, I felt like he was a little bit more invested in the results. Capello was a hired hand. He was a bounty hunter. He got his money and, got extremely well paid. I think that was a really dark time in terms of the fact that the FA felt that there wasn't an English manager and coach that could handle that job. I think he's changed the culture in terms of not having to always play the star and seemingly the best 11 players. Let's work out let's rank the best 11 players and let's see how we can put them together in a team. And I'm going to go back to that old adage of the whole, the whole combination of Gerrard and Lampard. Never going to work. No one wanted to sit. Gerrard liked to bomb forward. Lampard liked to bomb forward. We played a 4-4-2, big hole in the middle, slow central defenders,
Yeah, pretty easy to pick off.
Yeah, and I think now the waistcoat he's not bound by that. He clearly thinks I'm going to play a team. And I think, as I said before, I think the coaching of our major clubs by now some foreign managers and some incredibly astute coaches is starting to pay off. I mean, we mentioned before this, Calvin Phillips. I mean, I saw Calvin Phillips play twice this season against the Arsenal. Not bad. What the heck's happened to him? I mean, just that first game against Croatia. I mean, this guy's everywhere. And I think it gives him a lot of confidence playing alongside Declan Rice. Because of the two, Declan Rice is most definitely the pivot. He's less likely to go forward, and Calvin Phillips has that license too. And I think people like Stones, Kyle Walker, holy cow. I thought Kyle Walker's career was dead 5 years ago. He's been outstanding. And now here's another one. Here's another one I think who's benefited, and it's not particularly a great foreign coach because I don't rate Solskjaer at all. But Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
What? I mean, I know he was hurt. I know Mourinho hated him, never played him, but he does look a little tubby, to be honest. I have to say, he's carrying 15 pounds. But Luke Shaw, he couldn't be. He'd be pretty close to being the England player of the tournament. He's been fantastic. But I do think Gareth Southgate. I think he's changed the culture. I think, as you said quite rightly, the culture is now different. So that relationship between the coaching staff, the manager, and the media is a lot more friendly. But also, you could also say that that's because we've been successful. But I think this concept of Team England, I think having Burton now, having the Burton-on-Trent training center, gives him that sort of Clairefontaine French model of having that separate place and that real center to base himself. But yeah, good things and fair play to Gareth Southgate. I think his managing of the 21s is also important. Remember, we also have that group, those two graduating groups of the under-17 World Cup winners, the under-18 World Cup winners. So I think people like Foden and Bellingham and all that, they were all in those teams. And some of them, Nat and Sancho, they're all starting to come through. So if you combine a cultural change with those players coming through, I think with the foreign coaching, and now this result, win or lose tomorrow, this result in getting to the final is going to change the culture of the nation, and I think of young players coming through. The fact we're in the final, we haven't messed it up again. And I think, if let's say something freaky happens tomorrow, or tomorrow goes to penalties and we lose, I'm not going to feel as annoyed and upset. I feel like we really crossed the line against Denmark.
If you're interested in coming on the show for an Under the Floodlights special to talk about your favourite player or manager, please email the FFF2021@gmail.com or DM the FFF84 on Twitter. All contact details will be in the episode description. Hope you're all keeping safe, and thanks again for listening to the FFF.
Let's talk about the penalty. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw it, and maybe it was coming from biased eyes, I did actually think it was a penalty. I did think that, you know, the fact that there was contact made, especially it was on sort of the second attempt from Marler, where he sort of put his knee and his, you know, leg in there. He dangled it in there, and it came across Sterling's path. Perhaps Sterling went down a little softly, a little easily, but I just think, you know, if that contact's been made, and yes, it's on the soft side, but I've seen much, much worse, especially as an Arsenal fan. I've seen much worse given. You know, these are incidents that happen in football, and it's just, you know, England had the rub of the green, and these things, you know, have happened against England so many times. We've been screwed over by so many. I know this doesn't necessarily vindicate what happened, and this just doesn't explain and justify what happened, but at the same time, yeah, you're nodding. It kind of does. It kind of does. So yeah, I'll take it. I will take it. But yeah, it's one that we'll probably get stick for. But if we end up winning, we have got to a final. I mean, who gives a shit?
You know what? Let's think why VAR Let's think why FIFA introduced VAR. Let's remember why they decided on the trial. Bloemfontein, 2010, Frank Lampard, ball was over by a foot. Going to half time, it could have been 2-1, 2-2, anyone would have done it at the time. That system dictates that if you are in the box and there is contact made and a player loses their footing, it's going to be a penalty. That's just the way it is. It's the same as a defender coming out with one of their arms out. You see defenders now finally putting their hands behind their back. They're finally getting it.
So that's perhaps why it wasn't overruled then, in your opinion.
Well, I think in the letter of the law, contact in the box, you can't do that, and players know that. And it's fine for the world's media or the Danish coaching staff to go and say, well, you know, but you know what? Stop it. This isn't 1985 all over again. That's VAR. In fact, it's not VAR. Well, it is VAR. The VAR guy said, looked at it, didn't feel the need to overturn the referee's decision because he said, in the box, contact, some contact, player went down. Did Sterling throw himself and scream? No, he didn't. He went down, and he'd already ridden one challenge. But no, you know what? That stuff is given every week in the Premier League, and we're one of the few leagues that have VAR. So I think a lot of these, I'm sure the Danish league doesn't have VAR. I'm sure that, and I don't think the German league does as well, or the French league. So it's quite rich for me to have foreign journalists complaining now about the use of VAR when they frankly have so little experience of it. Let the the English fans who watch this every week and who get screwed over every week. We're looking at that going, and you know what? If that was given against us, I'd be angry, I'd be frustrated. But you know what? I wouldn't be any different. Like, shit, you can't do that. You can't do that. And like the same way that your defenders know to rush out with your arms behind your back, you'll learn this. And that guy Marley is a big oaf. I mean, those Danish defenders did not scare me. They were all like lower Premier League style defenders, big lumps. But yeah, I think England got through, and I don't frankly care if anyone's going to try to belittle our victory. Yesterday, the head of UEFA came out and said we'll never have a tournament with this format again. Fair enough. You know, he's clearly referring to England playing 6 out of 7 games at home, but England are only playing 6 out of 7 because we won out of our group. You know, I'm actually not sure. I have to, maybe you know this. I'm not sure why the French. Were there any games in Paris at all?
No, Paris wasn't a venue.
But I'm not. Did other teams, like, did the Germans play all 3 games at home?
I think they did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
In the group stage.
But I think if UEFA are going to, if they're going to give the semis and final on a separate decision to London, to Wembley, you can't come back then and complain about England. I mean, have we essentially had Euro 2020 England? Yeah, we have. We've essentially had a home tournament, but that's it. And you know what? We're going to hear a lot about that if we win. And I'm sorry, I don't care.
But the thing is, did England choose the format? We didn't choose the format. So, and we didn't choose the venues. We didn't even make the application. Can we have these games played at Wembley? That wasn't the case. It was just, whoever decided it did it.
Yeah. And if they're going to continue to consider Baku a part of Europe, if you draw a line down from Baku, you are east of Tehran. It's like almost in Mongolia. It's so far east. It's nothing to do with Europe. No, like Israel is like way to the west. So if they're going to continue to use Baku, and they're going to say, "Oh, this team had to go there," I don't care. So
yeah,
honestly, I don't care about anything that's said to try to slag off England, because think about the world of social media and clickbait. It's going to get done. It's going to get done a lot because they want England fans to get all upset. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just excited. I'm excited to see how we go up against this. Think back to the game, and I'm excited to see how we go up against Chiellini, and Bonucci, because those old boys are old stagers. You saw all the BS that Chiellini was involved in before the penalty shootout, trying to sort of manage that. He sort of took over. I'm like, and near that, the guy who's the referee, Bjorn Kaupas. There's a documentary on here on Paramount, which is the channel that has the Champions League coverage. They have a series called Man in the Middle. It's produced by the Champions League or by UEFA. It's all about the Champions League referees. This guy, Bjorn Kaupas, he's not going to stand for any of that. So I'm very glad that he is the man in the middle. What are your thoughts on the Italian 11, the team we're going to come up against?
Just quickly going on what you said about Chiellini sort of playing those mind games as well, because what that reminded me of is almost like when a really extroverted person meets an introverted person. It's just, it's such a clash of personalities. But yeah, I do think Chiellini was just really trying to play mind games with Alba there, and it kind of worked. I did like it because I just thought Chiellini was just really soaking in the occasion, and that's one thing with Mancini. We talk about Southgate and how much he's sort of got this England team so motivated and playing without that heavy England shirt, because there's been so many years, I'm pretty sure your whole lifetime you've seen England play with a cursed England shirt, but Southgate has somehow got us to play with freedom. Mancini has done exactly the same thing, because you've got to remember the previous two tournaments for Italy was an absolute shit show. It's just almost like a tale of two clubs that are more or less suffer or have suffered similar fates. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I think
with World Cups, but other than that,
yeah, that's true. I cut off things about 10 years, so let's not worry about what's happened before. Yeah, with Italy's 11, the defense doesn't worry as much as I thought it did, and I think the fact that they're such an aging back line, or especially the centre backs, I think the fact they've come far and they've come this far in the tournament is going to be tricky for them. I think they're going to be feeling it a bit, and I'm hoping our deadly front three is going to be able to test them. And we've seen as well, when the likes of Austria and Spain have taken it to that Italy back line, that's where Italy struggle. So as long as we do what we've pretty much done for the majority of this tournament, is take it to the opposition and just absolutely push them. If we just go out like we did in that Ukraine game, just absolutely guns a-blazing, I think Italy just, almost won't have an answer. But what does scare me, I suppose, is Jorginho, who seems to be playing the football of his life. Maybe after that Champions League win, he's just, absolutely on fire, and he has been really impressive. Perhaps one of the, the nominees for player of the tournament. So, there are individuals that I worry about, and it's the fact that Mancini has got Italy playing as his team. They are deadly. They haven't lost in the last 32, 33 games or whatever it is. So, yeah, they're going to be a deadly foe. However, you can score goals against Italy. How many goals have they conceded in this tournament? Is it 4 or 5? So, yeah. So it's possible. It's possible. So that gives me hope. So it's not.
So let me turn that around on you. So, all right, I take everything you're saying. Let's imagine we're two Italians doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
What are we going to be saying about England?
I would be more worried. from the Italian perspective than I would from England's.
Oh, sorry.
Perhaps because we're playing at Wembley. Perhaps because, you know, we haven't achieved this final in so long. It's almost like we're going to be playing with the handbrake off. It's almost as if we're going to be playing with no pressure, because achieving the final, in a sense, is like winning the tournament for us. Maybe I'm hoping Southgate isn't making that our speech before we head out onto the pitch, but I just think in the back of their minds they're going to be so just so comfortable and so confident to rise to the occasion, knowing that they're not going to have pelters at the end of it, knowing they're not going to have tomatoes thrown at them, knowing that, you know, the nation is so proud of what they've done. So I think we are essentially the more dangerous proposition. But having said that, I don't want to go into it being so complacent and thinking that Italy are going to be a nothing team. I just have a lot of confidence in this outfit under Southgate. It's for some, Southgate has just made me so proud to be an England fan. And has made me look at this England outfit ever since 2018, has made me look at this outfit a lot more differently and with a lot more confidence going into games.
Gareth's not going to do anything strange. I think we'll have that right.
Back three or back four for you, do you reckon?
Four. Four. Yeah, we're not. So the reason we played a 3 before was against Germany because of Gosens and Kimmich on the outside. Italy don't play that way. We played a back 3 as a matchup. Some thought defensive measure. Like I heard the press saying, "Why do we care about what Germany are doing? We should play our own game." No, that's so naive. That's like Sunday League stuff. No, up and at 'em, boys. No, we played the back 3 because we wanted to nullify. We wanted to make sure that our 2 wing backs could keep their guys defensively back and keep them busy and cut off the source there. Italy don't do that, so I think we'll play a 4. The only position will be up for grabs will be that inside right position again, and I would start Saka, and I would bring on Sancho, and I would probably end up bringing on Grealish again. I think Grealish coming off the bench is helpful, but honestly, if I was Italy, I would be terrified of Raheem Sterling. I think Saka has been great at directly beating the man and getting behind and then crossing. Sterling, on the other hand, takes the ball, drifts in slightly, and then becomes almost like a centre forward. He comes across the field and ends up central. And then Kane can actually bomb out to the left, or he can feed other people. I think, again, I know it's the fashionable thing to say, but those half spaces, if they play a 4 between the centre backs and the full backs, Saka's going to be there. Sterling's going to run into those. Shaw's going to be very tuned in to putting little balls in there. That's why I think Cellini and Bonucci, I think those guys are right to be turned. They're right to have balls put in behind them, but we just got to be direct and run. So think about how England teams play, though. The thing that has me throwing stuff at the screen are those periods when the pace drops. Every team has to have them. Like if you think about the first game against Croatia, we were gangbusters for 20 minutes. And then the second 20 minutes of the game, we let Croatia come back in. Modric started pulling the strings. The whole pace dropped. That's what concerns me, because Italy's perfect game plan is to keep the catenaccio, the closed door, keep everything very, very tight, slow the game down, keep possession, blah, 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 blah. A moment of brilliance from Chiesa or Insigne or Immobile, and then just shut the game down. Silly little fouls, little niggly fouls, shirt tugs, stop the game, free kick, everybody get back in position, Sheikh gets back, little throw-ins, kicking the ball off the field, little throw-ins, stealing 5 yards on a throw, just working for set pieces. If we go down, here's the thing, if we go down a goal, unless it's in the first 10 minutes or so, if we go down a goal, that's where I think that's going to worry me. Whereas Denmark, they definitely were a bunch of big boys, but not with the skill level. The Italians' cynical way of shutting down a game, it's going to bother me. If let's say it's 35, 40 minutes gone, we're down 1-0, it's going to take a moment of brilliance from people like Sterling. But I'm not saying the game's dead. That's going to bother me, because the Italians will look around at each other and go, "All right, boys, we know how to do this. Manage the game, kill it."
Which Italy players are you most worried about?
I'm worried about a moment of brilliance from Chiesa, Immobile, and Insigne. I don't think the rest of them. Back four is a back four. We can drive at them. We can find the spaces. We can exploit them. The midfield, nothing more than solid. Nothing more than solid. I mean, Verratti, yeah. Jorginho, not bad. Can drive a little, mainly a holding player. It's giving the ball to those front three and just having them do something worldy. I don't think they're going to score a ball down the side, beat the man, cross, score. I don't think a kind of regulation goal where you open a team up. Just like that goal the other day for Chiesa against Spain. Something brilliant. Something where you just say, fair enough. They have players with that ability. We do too.
Yeah.
I think if Italy's lack of a true target man number 9, I think gives people confidence. They're not playing a false 9, but they've got a lot of movement up front. I just think those guys have a worldy goal in them. That bothers me. I'm not worried about the rest of the Italian team. I think this game, I think if as a neutral, if I was, I think I would have England as heart favourites. I think head favourites slightly would probably be Italy, just because of their cynical way of playing the game. This isn't Spain that are going to come at you 100 miles an hour. Italy are going to slow, quick goal, and then the rest of the game will be slow. I feel like they're the sort of cynical game managers of world football. And despite Mancini being the manager, they're never going to come at you gangbusters.
No. I mean, do you expect England to go out gangbusters? Because obviously doing that, then we don't want to leave ourselves too exposed. But I mean, in a way, we have played it so well, where I suppose that Ukraine game was a really great example of that. And I'm trying to think another game where we did that really well as well. I think, Ukraine was possibly the best example, where we went at them really hard, but we still defended really well, and we still we didn't play with such a high line that we left ourselves exposed. And that's something that I think I've noticed from Southgate. He's just been able to squeeze the opposition really well. It's almost like choking the opposition out without giving too much away, or playing with too much of a high press. So yeah, I wonder what the real approach will be from us tomorrow.
Sterling is the key. I think Sterling's going to scare them. There's going to be lots of talking in Italian media about getting body on Sterling before he gets to run at those two aging centre backs. I mean, they're 36 and 34. It's not as if they're really old men, but no. I think Sterling's going to give them nightmares. And I think even Kane dropping deep as he has. But for me, I think the England team sets up not that far different from Italy. I think we've got a very solid back four. We've got the heading threat of Stones and Maguire, just like the two Italian centre backs. Shaw's been fantastic. Kyle Walker's been defensively, he's been an absolute rock, but Shaw's been good at getting forward. I think Rice and Phillips have been just a revelation. Definitely Rice has been just a warrior. I mean, that guy has stayed in a very, very limited area of the field and just kept everything quiet. And of course, Phillips is a bit more like a headless chicken. He tends to run around a little bit more, but he also drives through the ball. His passing's been nice. I mean, the Yorkshire Pillar has showed up. I really hope the media make a thing about the Yorkshire Pillar. Italians. No, I think Sterling and Saka, or whoever plays on the right, those two positions are going to be scaring Italy, because they're going to, again, they've got these two aging centre backs who, because they're aging, are probably going to play a little bit closer together than they normally would. They're going to try to narrow, and they're going to try to narrow with the fullbacks. They don't want there to be those half spaces. So that's fine. We can have Shaw and Sterling go on one side. We can have Kyle Walker and Saka on the other. I don't think down the middle is where we're going to score goals. We're going to have to get balls crossed in, and we're going to have to get Sterling just terrifying people.
Like on Facebook, follow on Twitter, subscribe to YouTube, do all that shit, please.
I mean, you mentioned about Calvin Phillips and sort of running around like a headless chicken, but what do appreciate from Bielsa, and I'm sure he's the guy that's kind of, implemented this into his game. But I just want to check now because I remember hearing it from a sort of post game analysis, and the amount of
Ran 13K.
13K. That was it. Yeah, that was it. 13K that he covered. That's insane. Absolutely insane. So that's something, we've seen all these running charts from Leeds United last season. They're, millions % above the rest of the Premier League. So, it just goes to show that where Calvin Phillips does run around and cover these yards, perhaps it appears as if it's, a bit reckless, but the man is able to do it without busting his lungs. The guy's able to do it with iron lungs, and he's able to cover those yards. So thank you, Marcelo.
Absolutely. And thank you, Pep. And,
yeah.
And again, I think I said, the fact that Pep has not really played Sterling very much, that boy came into the tournament with a major chip on his shoulder.
Mm.
There was a talk about him being sold, and he may still be, I don't know, but there was a big chip on his shoulder. And I think Kane's also out, he's also playing for a job.
Yeah.
Harry Kane is not going to go back to the Spuds. I'm sure that Nuno Espirito is not enough to attract him to stay, and he's already pretty much got one foot in Man City.
Mm.
And I think Sancho was also playing for a job. Not that he played that much. Foden's been the disappointment to me. He looks with his bleach hair like a really young kid that's pretty overwhelmed. I think Saka's just, from an Arsenal fan's point of view, Saka, has just grown.
Yeah.
Saka's going to come back and be the governor. He is going to come back with so much confidence. He has really been the best player on the right for us. Sancho's had a little bit, Foden, but Saka's been the one. Yes, he's only played an hour in each game, but I believe, as far as I'm concerned, Gareth's taken him off because he's run so much.
Has Saka really performed much differently from what we've seen him this season? I think this is just a case of Saka being exposed to the nation. This is just a case of what we are so accustomed to at Arsenal. Yes, he doesn't have, these incredible standout games every time, but when he does have a slightly lesser game, it's still a 7. Saka is always so dependent. And this is like why I just think, him playing for this England side, and he's definitely playing with better players as well. It's just helped to elevate his game massively. But for me, this isn't a massive surprise. It's just a surprise that, England fans haven't really sort of seen this before, and haven't been privy to the player that we know that Saka is. But what really impresses me as well about this sort of whole outfit from Southgate is that Saka fits the bill. And the reason why Saka's number 1 at that list is because of his attitude, is because of his application, is because defensively he gives you a hell of a lot more than what Sancho does. That's why he's ahead of him. And, that's for me why he's got to start the final tomorrow. He's just got to. I just want to ask you what your lineup is, or is it as simple as the same as last game?
Same as last game, Saka's on the right. Yeah.
So you're going with Mount again. Like with me, that Mount is perhaps the only question mark. I personally would. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I would go with Mount, but I like Grealish. But I think with Grealish, he's always going to be a bench player. He's always going to be somebody. He's always going to be a tool for Southgate to come off the bench and to just give us something different and to, test the opposition a bit more. Yeah. Grealish coming on with fresh legs, 30 minutes to go, is a fantastic weapon to have.
I think mentally, the other team just goes, oh boy.
Mm.
And here's what they do is they immediately foul him.
Yeah.
Rather like at the end of a basketball game, you've got a minute left and you've got foul trouble. You give the ball to your best free throw shooter, they get fouled, 2 points. You give the ball to Grealish on the top of the box and just let him hold it for 5 seconds. It's going to get taken out.
Yeah.
I think if you look at the way rugby has developed now in terms of it being a game of there are 2 games. There's the first hour and there's the last 20 minutes. And so Eddie Jones for England has his bench players. He brings on a couple of big boys, Corny Laws or someone like that. I don't want to get too into rugby because people may not know who we're talking about.
Yeah.
He brings on a new fly half, a new scrum half, a big hitter, and a whole new front row. and the whole team is energized, and you get those big tackles in the midfield. And it's usually the closers that end up literally winning the game. The first hour are the players that batter the other team into submission, and then the last 20 are the fresh legs that go ahead and really seal the deal. And I totally think Grealish is the same way.
Yeah,
I think Grealish. I think he's my one criticism of Grealish is that I think I mentioned the other day is that he's almost waiting to be fouled for a free kick.
Goes to ground a little too easily.
Yeah, and I think he's definitely going to be a target. I mean, if let's say Italy had a player like that to bring on after an hour who was a sort of mazy dribbler, just take his legs out. So I think he doesn't have to be smart. He has to sit right in that 10 position, right by the arc of the box, back to goal, get the ball, and just hold it. And he's Chiellini and Bonucci are going to just wreck him. That's fine. And up steps Harry Kane, top corner. I think we have to be smart like that. But no, I think I don't want to. I'm not sure I want to even give a prediction for tomorrow because I'm just nervous to the point where I'm rather like I said the other day for the Denmark game. If we score early, it's a different game. If they score early, I mean, we proved against Denmark we can come back, but I'm fearful if Italy go up 1-0.
I think England are going to be so pissed off that they allowed Denmark to score first. There was not much England could have done from that because my God, it was just an absolute worldie from Damsgaard. It was just knuckleball to the absolute 10th degree. It was fantastic. And, a lot of people say Pickford should have done a lot better. I'm sorry. Nah, for me, that's almost unsavable. Just the amount of movement, the amount of whip on that ball was just impossible for any goalkeeper not impossible, but it would have been very difficult to sort of, at the same time as making that much of a dive across your goal and also keeping an eye on that kind of movement. It would just be so hard to get a solid hand to. As
a goalkeeper for all my career, my soccer playing life, and as a coach now to goalkeepers, but I can tell you what he did. Denmark they added to the wall, so literally an entire wall across Pickford. So their whole approach is going to be to bring it up and down, and because of that wall, the Danish wall.
Yeah, I saw them move like 2 feet the other way.
Yeah, if you look at it again, Pickford, he got his weight wrong, but it was not his fault. He doesn't know when the ball is going to come, and he literally just moved his weight onto his left foot just at the moment that Damsgaard hit it, and he frankly just could not get back. Got back to, I think he just hit his fingertips or something like that. If he had stayed, if he hadn't chosen just to look around the wall, he probably could have got back. But you know what? It's a brilliant way to take a free kick, completely onside the goalkeeper. And then if he just had been patient, he just chose to very quickly take a little look, and there's weight, just half his weight, and he's couldn't get back. But no, I think a worldie goal like that, just like Damsgaard, that's what bothers me. I think England. I think we're too strong in the middle, we're too strong in the back to have them tear us apart and rip us. It's going to be a set piece, or it's going to be an absolute worldie.
Yeah,
but I do think with my England shirt on, we're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win, and I think I'm going to have to start manifesting that now. We're going to win, knowing that my world is not going to collapse if we don't, because we've made that step. We've made that. We crossed that hurdle into getting to a final, and 3 years or 18 months time in Qatar, and we're pretty much already qualified for that. But in Qatar, indoors, 65 degrees or 68 degrees, it's going to be a very level playing field, playing on turf, extra turf. I think again we need to consolidate with that. So I feel like between the Premier League structure, foreign coaches, Gareth's culture, we're on the right track. So I'm going to just predict it, and I just hope I think it'll be easier if we score first.
Like finding out as much as you can about clubs you've heard of and those you haven't? Then come check out The Magic Of, where we delve as deep as possible into the rich history of weird and wacky clubs all over the world.
Does Gareth Southgate deserve, regardless of whether we win tomorrow or not, does he deserve Sports Personality of the Year for you?
100%.
I agree.
100%. I mean, nice guys, they never finish first, right? Well, I mean, if you think back to the day he was hired, it was basically an internal appointment. There were other more attractive coaches, more interesting, sexy coaches around the world we could have hired. They hired from within because essentially a good corporate FA man. He wears the suit. He says the right things, but he's got something about him.
But people still wanted Allardyce. That was the general consensus.
What wasn't Allardyce right? Wasn't this the appointment right after Allardyce was fired for doing something?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think Gareth Southgate is not your first pick for. I mean, if you compare Capello with Southgate, you couldn't have two more different people. But Southgate clearly the man's invested. Clearly, he's a super chat, but he also has enough of an edge to him. I mean, he's the guy who brought Grealish on, and then 25 minutes later pulled Grealish off.
Yeah, he's his own man.
That takes some balls to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
What are your thoughts on the game then, Tom? We're going to win, but what are your thoughts on how it might go?
If I have to give my prediction, I think I've said up to this point I've said Italy so many times are going to win. I did think it was going to be a thriller of a game. I think it was gonna. I did think it was going to be 3-2 to Italy. However, after having a chat with you and maybe after having that beer, I've now decided that I think England are going to bring it home. I don't know. Perhaps it was like psychological reverse psychology, just trying to, outthink the gods and perhaps making Italy the winners tomorrow. But for some reason, just, calculating that it's at Wembley and the fact that we have only conceded one goal in the tournament so far, the fact that we're flying at the moment, Italy are as well, obviously, but I don't know. I just really favour ourselves. I think I'm going to go 2-1 England. I don't even think it's going to go extra time. I think it's just going to be 2-1 England at the end of the 90.
1-0.
Yeah.
1-0. 1-0. I mean, I'm going to say that because if we score, as I said last time, if we score first, it'll be 1-0 and we'll manage the game. If we go down, it'll probably go exactly the way that the Danish game went.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I am very excited. I can't believe we're here. I am trying to convince myself that I won't be throwing stuff at the TV and be very upset if we don't win. I hope that's the case. But I really should be. I really should. In the moment, I'm sure I will be. But look, I really should be happy with the fact that we are making big progress as a national team. And I think that's what we have to take away. And if you told me at the end of the Croatia game in Russia we'd reach another semi-final, I wouldn't have believed you. And we won it.
Yeah.
So let's hold on to that. Yeah,
definitely, man. This is a bit of a trivial question, but has it always been the case that there hasn't been the fourth and third game?
Great question.
Because I'm pretty sure, obviously the last World Cup we played Belgium, didn't we, for third place, and we didn't win. So has it always been the case in the European Championships that there's not a game for third?
Great question. The only one that I remember was one at Italia 90 when we played Italy, and frankly, no one gives a damn. No. I'm very, very glad. I'm very glad that that isn't the case because it would have been today. No, I'm glad. I'm so glad. That's one of the most pointless exercises. I guess it's just a money grab. But it's not something we have to care about, mate. Frankly.
Well, it's something that I don't really mind watching or being fairly sort of interested in. Is because we're not in it. I think because we surpassed that. It's kind of like, I would be quite interested in watching that. But had we been in it, I would have absolutely fobbed it off.
You have to remember the Euros for a long time. The Euros was a very small tournament. It was two groups basically, and I think it was it's 4 groups, and the top 2 go into the quarterfinals. Bang bang. We've made it bigger, but I think now if you were not going to have a third, fourth playoff before, I'm really glad we haven't added one because it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
How long to go now?
Yes, man. I cannot wait. I'm generally going into this with excitement, more excitement than dread. I'd say about 80% excitement, 20 dread. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. Yeah, I'm going to stick with my prediction of 2-1. Oh, I do need to mention Matt and Oliver's predictions. So Oliver's, first of all, he says he's obviously biased. Both teams will try to start strong. Then England will take control. England have it in them to shut out Italy and score goals. The game will swing Italy's way after half-time, and then England will find their feet again. I think the opening 10 minutes of each half will be critical. There will be nerves, and England have shown they feel them and can cope with them. Sterling to be man of the match and score, England to win 2-0. So when he said the game will swing Italy's way, I assumed that he meant Italy were going to score. But yeah, I think maybe just in terms of possession and the feeling of the game. But yeah, to win it 2-0, my God, I would absolutely love that. That would be phenomenal.
There's a lot of money I would give to the gods if I could have a 2-0 for tomorrow. I would empty the bank account for that. Oh, mate, honestly, I mean, Ollie, I love Ollie's stuff, and I definitely would like to go with his prediction on that. Good on you.
Yeah. Matt has said he's remaining hopeful and saying England 1-0, but with a secondary, I'm not sure he's allowed this, but we'll allow him it anyway. But a secondary guess of a penalty win. So.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be. I don't want to go into the 80th minute like it was against Denmark 1-1. I'm just thinking this is it. If any mistake now, you're up. Don't give away a free kick. Keep possession. That was high nerves. That last 10 minutes against Denmark, with them breaking and us trying to assert ourselves, and then as soon as the whistle went for 90 minutes, I'm like, oh crap, here we go. As I said during my thing the other day, like, we know how extra time ends.
Yeah,
I can't recall apart from David Platt. I think it was extra time. David Platt at Italian 90, that overhead kick against Belgium. I cannot recall a time, and please tell me I'm sure I'm wrong, when England went into extra time and actually won in extra time. I feel like extra time always leads to penalties, and penalties.
Yeah. Denmark's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I think apart from that, David Platt, I think it was the last minute of extra time. The country racing itself for penalties once again, and thank God it didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is good. Let's go for it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. Oh, I forgot to mention as well, Ollie is the luckiest man alive. He's actually going to Wembley tomorrow. So,
God.
Yeah. Pretty jealous.
Well, I hope he can. I hope he can record some. I know
he's going to. Yeah.
I know troops got thrown out of Wembley in one of the early games for doing something. He needs to record something, just audio, and get some fan reaction and get some crowd noise. That would be fabulous. Ollie, if you could do that.
Oh right, is it?
They don't want you to record, but if you're stupid about it and you start showing your phone like a camera and start putting it in people's faces, then they'll see you. Just have it on. Have it on right after a goal gets scored, or just record the whole game audio and just try to cut the bits where there's good action, and just maybe even outside the ground, just talk to people. It's so good.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an absolute, perhaps one of a lifetime opportunity. So yeah, I'm sure he's excited for it. So yeah, it's going to be a good one.
All right, mate. Well, this is lovely. Let's catch up again when we get back into the Arsenal frame of things.
I really haven't thought too much on Arsenal. Obviously, I've been chatting to you back and forth, but I've just gone full gung ho with England. I'm waiting for this thing to be over, and then I'll put my attention back to Arsenal. Well, not that there's been a lot going on with Arsenal anyway. So
let's hope Ben White gets done the moment this is over. Let's hope on Monday we got Ben White.
I think it will.
All right, I'll stop the recording and I'll send what I have to you, and then I look forward to this going online.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right, mate. Later.
Cool. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Triple F. If you could please drop a like on our Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter, that would be massively appreciated. Hope you're all keeping safe, and thanks again for listening to the Triple F.